My sister moved into my apartment because her university was conveniently nearby. Given my busy schedule, I didn't get to talk much with her. She usually cooked food for both of us, and we would occasionally chat about how things were working out for her. One day, while I was working in my room, she came in, looking sad, and opened up crying. She told me how difficult it had been to form friendships, and how some people were giving her a hard time. At that time, I was so engrossed in my work that I just sent her off, saying that she should focus more on her studies and not really care about the other people. After that day, she never talked about her university again. We barely conversed, and I often noticed that she looked a little more down than her usual self. It also reflected in the food she made. I decided to give her some time, hoping she would turn back to normal. One day, I returned home to a really nice dinner. She seemed really happy and was humming a song. I was a little relieved looking at her, so I sat down to eat my dinner. When I was going to sleep, she came into my room. It had been a long time since we spoke, but she finally opened up. "I've made a friend, and, we were planning on going out tomorrow." I was a little surprised and hesitant, but looking at how happy she was, I decided to let her go. I didn't ask her much about the person since I was really tired and already in bed. The next day, when I returned home, I saw there wasn't any food on the table. I tried calling out to her, but I remembered she had gone out. I checked my phone to see if she had called or left any messages, as she wasn't the type to go out for so long without informing anyone. I waited for a little while, but since there wasn't any message from her, I decided to check her location. She seemed to be nearby, just 2 houses away in a nearby park, but she wasn't moving. I got out my bike and went to get her. When I reached there, I saw her on a swing. She wasn't swinging, she just sat there. Something was weird about her. Her eyes were red. She was staring at something and she didn't blink. "Hey, Rhea, what are you doing over here?" I asked, a little angry and concerned at the same time. She didn't reply. She just stared. I didn't know what was wrong with her, but she looked unharmed. I asked her to sit on the bike and she did as she was told. We got back home, but her behavior was weird. She stopped cooking food. She would go out early and come back late, and her appetite had grown significantly. She was consuming food enough for 2 people, and it really freaked me out. I asked my parents if something had happened while I had been away, and they said they didn't notice anything unusual. I was considering consulting a doctor, but suddenly her behavior turned normal. She went to university in the morning as usual and started preparing dinner again. I was relieved and didn't think much about it. We didn't get to talk much, but she seemed normal again, and I was happy to get back to my work. However, one thing stood out. She was only making burgers. It was fine for a few days, but soon I got tired of eating them. On the 7th day, I decided to ask her if she wanted to go out for dinner. I also saw this as a chance to finally talk to her and catch up. She didn't respond. It seemed as if she was sleeping. I decided not to disturb her and went to have a bath. As the water fell from the shower, I was repulsed. A revolting stench came from the water. As I wiped off the water from my face, I was terrified. I was covered in blood. I screamed, and suddenly I heard her footsteps. She came running, and I heard her voice after so many days. "What happened, Ryan?" she said. I didn't respond. "Oh, come on, it's only a little blood. Why are you so scared? Open up." I got away from the shower to open the door, but I stopped. How did she know about the blood? I shot away from the door to the corner of the bathroom. Suddenly, her calm voice became more aggressive. She started shouting and howling. "Open it! Open it! Open it! Why won't you open? I'm your sister, why won't you talk to me? Open it, Ryan!" Suddenly, she stopped. I didn't move. I remained glued to the wall. Thud! I was alarmed. The door almost came off. She was hammering the door, and I heard a hinge break, and my heart sank. I didn't think twice. I wrapped my towel around my hand and punched the window harder and harder until it was completely shattered. The window was small, and I tore through my flesh as I tried to pass through it. I heard another hinge break, and I pulled myself out. I had cuts all over my body, but I didn't stop. I ran towards the front yard and pulled out my bike. I heard her running to the front door, and I could hear her screaming before I left. "Come back! I won't kill you!" I didn't look back. I raced the bike faster than I ever had in my entire life. My vision was blurring. I had lost so much blood. But I reached the police station. Looking at my state, they decided to help. The police left for my house, and medical aid was provided to me. On my insistence, the police took me with them to my house, but my sister wasn't there anymore. I told them about the shower, and to their shock, when they opened the water tank, there lay the lifeless body of my sister. The water had turned red, and the scene when they pulled out her body still gives me nightmares. Pieces of her hands and legs were missing as if they had been cut off. If my sister was already dead, who was the person I was living with this entire time? I stayed in the police station that day, telling them what I had witnessed and explaining the entire situation to them. After they examined her body, and the results came out after a little while, the police informed me that the first time she had been cut was 7 days before. My mind froze. I couldn't breathe. I remember falling down after hearing that. The very thought revolted me. What had I done? The police kept calling me for over a month. At this time, I was at a hospital recovering from what had happened. I left my job, as I couldn't really focus on anything right now, and I planned on leaving this town. The police were still trying to find what had caused this entire mess, but it's as if that thing just disappeared after that day. We checked at her university, but apparently she wasn't really close to anyone, and some people even witnessed her being bullied. "I'm your sister, why won't you talk to me?" These words cut me like a knife, even though I know it wasn't my sister that said those words. I don't know what the fuck that thing was, but I wish I had talked to her. My family blamed me for what happened, and I didn't fight back because some way or another I did feel responsible for what happened. I wish I had paid more attention to her.